Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Immigration Talk Show. I'm your host, Nipasa, and I'm going to be your host for this session, which is lined up for you for an hour. So stay with us. I'm going to have our guest for today. And also, at the same time, friends, thank you so much for joining us. Before we start off with today's webinar, I have this very important disclaimer. And that is by watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. Use of information is at your own risk. So, friends, keeping that in mind, once again, welcome you to Immigration Talk Show. And it's going to be a very interesting session today because we are going to discuss the Visa Bulletin for May 2025 and what's moving, what's stuck, and what it means for you. So I hope that you're excited to know. And yes, so welcome, friends. We are streaming live right now on YouTube and also on LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and you can also check us out. We are on Instagram. So follow us. Our handle is at Immigration Talk Show. And if you haven't as yet subscribed to our channel, now is the time. What are you waiting for? Subscribe to our channel, hit that bell icon, and also share this content with all folks out there who can benefit, especially your friends, your loved ones, your family. So, yes, thank you once again for joining us. So, it's going to be a very interesting session we have lined up for you. And to join us in this session is none other than Attorney Prashanthi Reddy from the Law Offices of Prashanthi Reddy. And please, without further ado, help me welcome her back to the show. Hi, Prashanthi.
Hello, how are you, Nipasa?
I'm doing good, Prashanthi. It's always really nice to have you back on our show.
Same
So
here.
to folks out there, yes, thank you. To folks out there who is seeing Attorney Prashanthi Reddy for the first time, let me tell you that she has, this experience for almost 3 decades now on immigration, and you should check her out. Go check her out at www.reddyesq.com. And yes, I think if you want to consult with an attorney, especially with regard to your case, whether it's a business visa or a family based visa or a student visa, do reach out to her. And her number is 212 354 1010. Once again, I repeat 212 354 1010. And you can also email Prashanthi at readyesq.com. So, Prashanthi, it's been a busy week, I'm sure, and we've already reached mid of April. So, please tell us how's the scene out there, especially with regard to immigration.
It's chaotic to say the least. Been extremely busy, but not in a good way. We've had a lot of CBIS terminations, etc. So I'm talking to a lot of people every day. Um, and of course, it's H1B season, so we're busy filing the H1s that we have. And yeah, so there are ups and downs, and the always in where immigration is concerned, that's what keeps it, I guess, interesting. But yeah, we're seeing those the downs right now, but hopefully things will settle down and we'll be back in business.
Absolutely. And it's the mid of April. So here we have the, excuse me, Visa Bulletin for May 2025. It always comes out for the next month in the mid of the previous month. So was this expected, Prashanthi, before we had this come out? Did you expect it to be this way?
Yes, I mean, we've seen that there is um, limited forward movement. There has been actually. Maybe last month was an exception, but otherwise we've seen limited forward movement. We've seen high demand, and we're continuing to see that, especially with EB2. We're seeing some forward movement with EB3. Always, it's EB3 is doing better than EB2 this year, and of course that's a seesaw as well, because then everybody starts filing in EB3, and then EB3 dates retrogress, so that happens a lot. Yeah, so it's always competition between EB2 and EB3 because people keep moving from one to the other, and some people have I-140s filed in both EB2 and EB3. And I'm of course talking about more so about Indian nationals, and of course Chinese nationals as well, because that's where the backlog is. But EB2 worldwide is also backlogged. So something to say for the backlogs. Family-based cases are also pretty much at a standstill, except for one category, and we'll look into that further as the show progresses. But yes, it's expected. Um, Slow movement or no movement is expected this year.
For sure, for sure. And we also hear about the EB5, the investor visa category, which is going to see a pause for quite some time now. So I think without further ado, Prashanti, why don't you go ahead and give us a sneak peek into the visa bulletin for May 2025?
Sure. Um, do you want to pull the? Is it possible to get the visa bulletin up? There you go. So if you look into, let's first look into the final action dates for employment-based cases. Can you scroll to that? Okay, good. So if we look at the final action dates for employment-based cases, we'll see that I'm just comparing it to last month's visa bulletin just to get a comparison as to how the dates moved, if they moved or they didn't move. So for EB1, India continues to be at February 15, 2022. So there's pretty much no change from the last month. China is November 8, 2022. Again, no change from the previous month. And for EB1, all other countries, that remains current. I think all other countries is current for EB1 and EB3, but EB2 again is backlogged. So EB2, you see, it's backlogged all over, not just for India and China, but for other countries as well. So having said that, let's go into EB2. For employment-based category 2, these are people, jobs that require a bachelor's degree plus 5 years of experience or a master's degree. India is, again, no change. We're stuck at January 1, 2013. China also, we don't see any change, October 1, 2020. And all other countries also is backlogged, but it's no change from last month. It's still June 2023, June 22nd, 2023. So all other countries always fare a little better than uh, China, and China always fares a little better than India, and India is the most backlogged. So those are the dates. Let's look into EB3 professionals and skilled workers. EB3 category is for those the jobs that require a bachelor's degree. Skilled workers is for those jobs that require less than a bachelor's degree. And EB1, since we didn't discuss EB1, EB1 is multinational executives, so people who qualify for an L1 or EB1. Extraordinary abilities, EB1, researcher categories, EB1. So those are EB1 people, and as you can see from the terminology that I'm using, not many people qualify for EB1, and therefore the backlog is also lower for EB1 when compared to EB2 and EB3. So let's go into EB3. The only movement that we see for the visa bulletin, I shouldn't say the only, but one of the movements that we see is for India. India advances marginally by 2 weeks. There's a 2 week progression, and it advances to April 15th, 2013. It was April 1st, so it's April 15th. So that's a 2 week progression, 2013, April 15, 2013. China, no movement till November 1, 2020. All other countries, no movement. They remain at January 1, 2023. So EB3, all other countries is also backlogged, and EB2 is also backlogged for all other countries. So only EB1 is not backlogged. So you see, all other countries usually is current um, in EB2 and EB3 sometimes, but this year we've seen that even all of the countries have a high demand, but 2023 is not as bad as 2013 or 2020, so still good, but not current. EB1 is current, but EB2 and EB3 for all other countries is not. EB5 is where we see backward movement, that is retrogression is what we call it, for the unreserved category. For China, there was no change, January 22, 2014. India retrogresses by 6 months. This is a huge retrogression for India. It's moved back to May 1, 2019, and this retrogression is because of the high demand in the EB5 category for Indian nationals. Indian nationals never used to use EB5 categories as much as China would, but now it seems that there is no change in China and there's a retrogression in India, so it's catching up with China. 2019, China is 2014. All other countries remain current and for EB5, and India was current not a long time ago, so the retrogression is really surprising. Um, Set aside categories, that is, jobs which are located in rural, high unemployment, and infrastructure areas, they remain current for all countries, including for India and China. So AB5, we've looked at all the different categories. Now, if we can look at family-based, if you can go to family-based, dates for filing, not final action date, but dates for filing. So if you look at dates for filing, because we need to look at this because USCIS has said that for employment-based categories, they're going to look at final action date. But for family-based categories, since the backlog is not as much as employment-based categories, they're still looking at dates for filing category. But this, of course, might change, and they might start looking at final action dates. The advantage of dates for filing table is that usually they're more advanced than the final action date table because they're allowing you to file in advance. The premise is that USCIS is hoping that the dates will soon become current, and they're thinking that by the time they process your case, they're expecting the dates to become current, and that's what the dates for filing table is. So you're being allowed to file your adjustment of status ahead of time, before your priority date becomes current. So for the for the family-based category, the only significant change that I wanted to talk about is the F2A, so spouses and unmarried children under the age of 21 for permanent residents. So if you're a spouse of a permanent resident or a child of a permanent resident, you will see forward movement next month. So there's a movement of 3 months and 2 weeks across the board for all other countries, China, India, Mexico, and Philippines. So for India, the previous cutoff date for last month was October 15, 2024. Now it's moved up to February 1, 2025. For China, it was October 15, 2024, same as India. And again moved up to February 1, 2025. So India and China are exactly the same dates. For all other countries as well, it was October 15, 2024 and moved up to February 1, 2025. So same thing with Philippines, same thing with Mexico. All the dates are exactly the same as India and China. This is an anomaly because usually India, China are way behind on everything, all the dates, but here they're pretty much the same as all other countries and Mexico and Philippines. So February 1, 2025, folks, is the priority date, whichever country you're from, moved up by 3 months and 2 weeks. So if your priority date has been reached, please reach out to your attorney and file that adjustment of status application ASAP because the dates may not remain the same, may not move forward, may not remain the same, and may actually retrogress. So you never know until the beginning of next month what it'll look like for June. So be prepared, get ready to file your application next month. And what to be expected for the following month? For June, as I was telling Nipasa, we don't see any major forward movement, maybe a slight forward movement for EB3 category, and maybe some forward movement in the F2A family-based category, that is green card holders, spouses, and children. But otherwise, I'm not expecting to see a big forward movement in any other category. Nipasa?
Can you hear me? So I was just saying
Yes.
thank you so much, Prashanti, for highlighting those major changes in the F category and the E category for family and for employment-based categories, respectively. So those were the changes, friends, and the final action dates that you need to keep in mind and prepare yourself. So, yes, I also can see a lot of folks, who have joined us with their comments. So, hi to Hemant, Aduro, Jadav, and V2. Thank you for joining us. We're going to take your questions and comments very soon. Please stay with us. All right. So Prashanti, what do you expect? What's going to happen, and what is the now steps for people whose dates are current?
Nipasa, before I continue, can you actually see me? Because I
Yes,
can't.
we can see you.
Okay, all right. Because I can't see you, so just letting you know.
Okay.
It's a blank screen for whatever reason, but it's okay. As long as you can see me and you read out the questions to me, it's fine.
Okay. Sure. Sure.
So, yeah. Okay. So, what was your question again? Please repeat.
So Prashanti, I was just going to ask you, like, what should the next steps be for folks out there who have their dates current right now?
For the dates, if your dates are current, please make sure you look up your make sure you have your birth certificate, because those are documents, marriage certificates, because these are documents that sometimes people don't have ready. Get your make sure your passport is valid, very important. Make sure that you get your medicals done on time, because sometimes medicals can delay things. And if you don't have your birth certificate because it was never issued or you lost it, if it was never issued, then make sure you contact the city where you were born, the registration of births and deaths if you're from India, or depending on whichever country you're from. And if it was never registered, if you're from India, then make sure you get a non-availability certificate, and secondary evidence like affidavits from your parents, from other people who were present at the time of your birth, and maybe a school leaving certificate. And every country, just to let you know, has um, different uh, criteria for what to do if there's no birth certificate, and when not having a birth certificate is acceptable.
Right.
But the marriage certificate you have to have if it's a spouse-based case. Um, and if you are in the US, then make sure you're in status otherwise.
Okay. And now we hear that, especially for marriage based, I mean, people who are married also, they really need to prove that their marriage is real, it's the real deal and not something they did just for getting a green card.
Correct. So you have to show that it's a bona fide marriage and it's not a sham marriage. And there is a presumption of fraud for all marriage based cases.
Okay.
So you have to show them that, the marriage is actually not a fraudulent marriage. So the onus is on us to prove to them that it's a real marriage and not a fraudulent marriage. And so there are a lot of documents required to that effect. And to name a few, you have to show that, you're living together, maybe show a lease with both names on it, plenty of photographs, the marriage pictures, maybe the wedding card, joint documents such as joint tax returns, joint bank statements, credit cards, health insurance, life insurance, as much as you can get that shows that you're, actually married and living together.
Mhm. Interesting.
Maybe affidavits from your neighbors,
Yes,
etc.
so much to prove. So just get ready with anything and everything possible to prove that your marriage is real, and especially your birth certificate. Also, in case you do not have it, there are alternatives. And in case you need an attorney to consult with, especially with regard to your case, why don't you check out Attorney Prashanthi Reddy as well? You can call her up, and her number is 212-354-1010. You can also email Attorney Prashanthi Reddy at Prashanthi at reddyesq.com. You can check out the spellings on the screen and go visit www.reddyesq.com to get to know more about Attorney Prashanthi Reddy and the law offices of Prashanthi Reddy. So, also at this point, friends, I really hope that you're enjoying our content, and do not forget to subscribe if you haven't as yet already. So our handle is at Immigration Talk Show, and if you're watching us, you know where to hit the subscribe button and also the bell icon so that whenever we have discussions like these, you're notified and you can participate and maybe ask your questions. Where we have the attorney, with us for an hour, and it's take it as your opportunity, as your privilege, because this is all for free. So join us, and don't forget to subscribe to us. So, Prashanthi, I would let's take up some questions from the audience quickly before we hit our questions. Hemant is saying F2 to H1B process. So, I think if you can highlight a few steps.
F2 to H1B. Okay. So F2 is basically student visa, a dependent student visa, I must say. And he wants to move to a H1B, right? Hello?
Visa to H1B.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
I couldn't, now I can. So is it an F2 to a H1?
Yes, F2 to H1B process.
Okay. So, in order to file for a change of status from an F to to a H1, first of all, you might be subject to the H1B cap. So you have to make sure that you've registered for the lottery, and if you get picked in the lottery, which I'm presuming he might have been picked, um, or maybe he's trying to file it for next year. But if you're picked in the lottery, then it's a simple change. Not simple, but it's a change of status process. You can file for a change of status. You don't have to leave the country. You can, if you want to, you can do consular processing, leave the country, come back on a H1 visa, or you can just file for a change of status from F2 to H. Key here is that you're able to show that you're the principal person, the F1 person who you're dependent on is maintaining his status. You have to show the marriage certificate to show that you are a dependent. And, so your spouse's documentation to show status, your marriage certificate are key. And of course, the rest of the documents to show with reference to a H1B, filling out the proper forms, submitting educational credentials, getting an evaluation done from an expert, um, and having a proper job description uh, and a job title to show that it's a specialty occupation and at least a bachelor's degree in a specific field is required for the position.
Okay. Thank you so much for taking that up for Hemant. And Hemant, I hope that you got the steps, highlighted and noted down so you know what to do next. So, all the best also. And now we have Oduro who's asking, so please can EB3 row move again?
I wish I knew, my dear. I wish I knew, and I wish I could say it will.
Yes.
And then um, that'll be a nice thing to say. But we don't know, to be honest, and we can't say. But in general, um, it's not looking that good. There might be some forward movement actually for EB3, since the demand seems to be higher for EB2 right now. Most people, Indian nationals, qualify for EB2 at least. So EB3 might move, since most people are filing in EB2 by default. Most of them have master's degrees or bachelor's plus plenty of experience. So yeah, you might see some forward movement in the EB3 category. How much? It's hard to say.
There you go. Oduro, I hope you've gotten your answer. And this sounded more like a prayer, right? And a wish. So let's hope. Let's hope for the best. Jadav, American Dream in trouble. US Visa Bulletin for May 2025 brings bad news for Indians. Will this trend continue under President Trump's administration?
To be honest, we can't blame President Trump's administration for everything. So the visa bulletin really is nothing to do with the administration. It's the question of demand and supply. But of course, the administration can help in the sense that they can pass a bill if they are able to gather enough votes in the Senate and the House to make some changes to, the priority dates or the way priority dates are counted, or to add priority dates to the system or to remove um, all restrictions on green cards, but doesn't look like there's enough political will for that to happen right now. Immigration is not a hot topic in a good
Mhm.
way. Um, I think also, even if you look at the general consensus, people are not very warm and fuzzy towards immigration right now. Uh, so it will. Can a miracle happen? Of course, it can happen. Um, I'm just hoping it
Mhm.
will, and that under the present administration, they will pass a bill which helps at least legal immigrants, stay here because they're all following the rules. They're doing everything they need to do, so it's only fair that they should be allowed to stay if they're following all the rules, and that they should have, at least the same opportunities that people from other countries have, right? So it seems unfair that Indian nationals have to have a much, much longer wait while other countries don't. So maybe, removing the per country limit, or I don't know what can be done. It really depends
Proportionate,
on
I
what the
think.
administration, yeah, is willing to do. So we have to wait and see. Let's hope it's good news.
Let's hope so also. Thank you, Jadav, for your question, and thank you, Prashanti, for taking that up. So now let's take up V2. V2 is asking, I have been laid off on H1B. I have a pending I-485 marriage based and approved EAD. If I can't find a job in 60 days, can I change status from H1B to B2? Will this impact my pending 485 petition?
So I don't understand why you want to change to a B2 if you have a pending 485 application. First of all, you will not get a B2 if you have a pending 485 application because you have a pending immigrant application, right? And for B2, you have to show that you have no intention to immigrate. And there's no necessity to change to a B2 because you are a pending 485. So you just move from your H1 to a pending adjustment of status. And I mean, once your EID gets approved, you can start working. And the good thing is you can work for any
Mhm.
employer because it's a marriage based case. It's a family based case. It's not an employment based. So you don't have to stick to the employer that, filed the green card for you, or worry about AC-21 or moving employers, etc., etc. So, I mean, just get on to the your green card adjustment of status, unless you are worried that your 485 might get denied for some reason. Then I would advise you not to move, of course. But filing for a B2 may not be the solution because getting a B2 while your 485 is pending, because there's a question in the form. Have you ever filed an immigrant petition? And then you have to say yes, and then they may not approve the B2. So that's a problem.
Okay.
So if you don't foresee any issues with your family-based case, you should just move to that.
Okay. Okay, all the best, V2. But yes, I don't think you really need to shift to B2 for real. So thank you, Prashanti, for that good advice and for taking the question up for V2. Let's take up this one from Nirav now, and this is with regard to EB5 unreserved category visa for Indians would move backward by over 6 months to May 1st, 2019. China, on the other hand, remains on January 22nd, 2014. I think there is no question, it's just a remark, a statement.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, but China is much more backlogged than India. But now, as I said, India is catching up with the demand for EB5s. As EB1, EB2, and EB3 categories backlog, you will see EB5. There'll be more demand for EB5 as well, right? So because a lot of you professionals who have been here for many years are willing to, invest in the country. It's not just It's not just businessmen or companies. It's also people who are willing to invest into the regional centers, like passive investors, are willing to invest for the sake of getting the green card. So we're seeing a lot of that happening because there's no scope of getting a green
Mhm.
card in the near future in the EB2 and EB3 category, and now EB1 is also
Backlog.
backlogged.
Yeah.
So there's going to be pressure on all categories. And EB5 is the last of it, but now we're seeing pressure on EB5 as
Right,
well.
right. And with the Nirav's comment, actually, I also have an additional question, which is, since we see that the EB5 unreserved category for India, it has retrogressed by more than 6 months, but for China, the cutoff stayed the same. So, what does this contrast tell about global EB5 demand and priority handling?
Um, China demand has always been high for EB5 because they don't come as much as the Indians do on professional visas. It's mostly passive
Mhm.
investors. There's a lot of money in China and they just invest passively into the US and try to get a green card that
Mhm.
way. India traditionally follows the employment based route, the student route, employment based, and then employment based um, EB1, EB2, and EB3
Mhm.
category. Um, so now with those other categories failing, or because of the backlog, now people are looking into other ways of remaining in the country, and I think that's why EB5 India has the demand has increased for EB5 India.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, as long as the other categories are backlogged, we will see more and more demand for EB5 India. And I think that is it. I don't think, I mean, the US has always been, um, you know, uh, a place that everybody wants to be, right? Anywhere in the world, people want to come to the US. And there's no exception with reference to Indians. But with reference to EB5 specifically, I think the demand is more because of the backlog in the other categories.
Right, and thank you so much. But Nirav is back asking another question: why there is a huge difference between the two countries?
Because China always the China EB5 program has always been backlogged for many years. Because as I said, I guess I just answered that question, right, Nibasa? I said that Chinese investors, they have a lot of money and their traditional route is business and investing. They don't come in the employment based route as much as Indian nationals do. That's why you see a huge backlog for EB2, EB3 in Indian nationals. In China also you see a backlog, but it's not as bad as the Indian
Right.
nationals. But EB5 backlog, you'll see the roles reverse and you see a
Mhm.
much bigger backlog for China
Right.
versus versus India.
Right. So there you have it, Nirav. I hope you've gotten your answer, and thank you, Prashanthi, for taking that up. And V2, by the way, says thanks, Prashanthi, for reply. Thank you too, V2. So, coming to our questions, Prashanti, with employment based categories like we are discussing, EB1 and EB2, also they remain stagnant for India, China, and even other backlogged countries as well. So, what can applicants, realistically expect in the next few months? If you can just predict, maybe. I know it's hard.
Yeah, and I think we discussed this a little
Right.
bit, but we're not expecting any, um, surprises. I don't see why we will be surprised. I mean, um, so expect more of the same for the rest of the year. And we always see that by September, things become retrogress or they become completely unavailable. And then by October, um, the start of the new year, again, things come back to normal. Um, but generally, the trend has been since COVID. During COVID, we saw that the dates became available. There was a lot of forward movement for EB2, EB3 in India, and EB1 as well, and rest of the world. But we've seen after COVID, when the demand at the consulates went up for family based as well as employment based, went up to normal levels. We've been seeing um, year after year that the number of visas uh, becoming available, the extra visas, usually the number of visas is always same, but the extra numbers becoming available because of other categories not being used, or other categories falling down into, EB2 and EB3. Family based falls down to employment based. EB1 falls down to EB2 and EB3. EB5,
Hmm.
um, uh, you know, etc. So we've seen the extra visas available have gone down more and more over the years,
Yes.
and we've seen that trend. So I guess, um, I mean, for next year also it'll be the same, or you might see some lesser number of visas available. So I guess the time is ripe for some legislative action to happen, and I hope it does.
Yes, we all do. Really, really, Prashanti. But thank you so much for taking that up. And now, if we look at the family sponsored categories, they haven't moved much either for whether you say Mexico, Philippines. And if you can tell us what's really holding back these family based green card approvals, and do you think there'll be a relief soon in the horizon?
So the same thing for family based. I mean, Mexico is always backlogged because, I mean, of its proximity to the US, and they don't use employment based very rarely. They mostly immigrate through family based
Okay.
green card. So always have a higher backlog, and Philippines is the same, though they do use some employment based, but mostly they immigrate through family sponsorship.
Okay.
That's traditionally been the route that those countries have taken. So you can expect that family-based cases will be backlogged for these countries,
Mhm.
Mexico and Philippines. Um, and Again, I don't see a potential for forward movement unless the demand decreases, and maybe with the stricter vetting that the present administration is doing, people may not want to come to the
Mhm.
US. That's the only way the demand can decrease, or are scared to come to the US. That could be a way the demand would decrease. But um, for these kind of, I mean, I think that works more for asylum cases and people coming, undocumented people coming to the borders and applying for asylum or refugee status. Not so much for family-based categories because they come with a green card. They apply, and then everything gets approved at the consulate, and they come with a green card, so they're not worried about their status. But in general, obviously there is some kind of negative impact on immigration on the whole when the vetting increases, and that could lead to the backlog decreasing. We have to wait and see.
Right, Prashanti, right. And also, maybe if you could tell us if there are new paths or legal workarounds, that they should explore while they wait for especially Mexicans and the Philippines out there.
So the other thing, Nipasa, again, what I remembered about reducing the number of cases, what could cause a reduction is also the public charge rule. During there was a public charge rule, then during Trump's administration last time, he really restricted who qualifies for a green card, and he expanded the public charge rule uh, quite significantly. Basically, to the extent that family-based cases, if you didn't have a job, then it's most likely that you could be denied a family-based application because they would say that you are likely to be a public charge and you didn't have an education, etc. So a lot of people from Mexico, Philippines, these who are not professionals, may not actually have jobs or an education, etc. Right? Um, so that could decrease again the amount of filing if he again restricts the public charge rule. But last year when he tried to, expand the public charge rule, the courts interfered and it was put on hold. So the same thing could happen, but that's one way if the present administration tries some measures to decrease legal immigration as well, which I mean they are doing in certain ways. That could decrease the demand, but we have to wait and see.
Yes.
What was your other question? But other ways, right, for
Yes. New
Mexicans and
pathways.
Philippines. I mean, they are. It is what it is. It's nothing new. And for Mexico, of course, you can do a TN visa,
Hmm.
That's a non-immigrant visa. So that's the additional visa available for people from Mexico. Philippines doesn't have a specific visa available. They just are like the rest of us. We make do with whatever visas they
Hmm.
are. Um, so yeah, it's either the H, the L,
F.
um, or you get the F, the student visas, or apply for employment-based or family-based green card. So those are the ones, those are the pathways. EB5, of course, if you're an investor.
Hmm.
There is an investor visa, but no one seems to be using it because it's not, doesn't lead to a green card. It's more like a humanitarian. It's like a parole, not humanitarian, but it's a parole. So not many people are using that investor visa category. Um, so yeah, that's all there is.
Any news on
I mean,
Trump's
there
gold card?
are pathways, but any news on what?
Trump's gold card, the 5 million gold card.
The gold card is not going to cause a significant influx of people into the country, and neither is it going to be helpful for 99.9% people because not many people can afford that 5 million.
True.
People who can afford the 5 million may not want to come to the US.
Yes.
Or they have other ways of coming to the US because they can apply for an L1, they can apply for EB5.
Correct.
So, with reference to the gold card, I think it's a good thing, but it shouldn't replace the EB5. If it replaces the EB5, then it's a bad thing.
Hmm.
But if it doesn't, then I think it's good because that provides an additional pathway for businesses to come to the US and investors to come to the US.
Right.
But there's no further news on it. We've not heard anything except for the proposal that we heard, last month.
Yes. Yes. But yes, let's hope for the best. Let's see what options we have, and folks out there, keep staying subscribed to us, and if you haven't as yet, subscribe now. But also at the same time, watch out our space, because we keep coming up with the latest updates on all immigration based news and updates that you don't want to miss out on. So yes, subscribe now. Our handle is at Immigration Talk Show, and you can also check us out not just on YouTube, but we are also there on LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and also on Instagram. On X, we are at Immy Talk Show. So check us out. And if you have any questions with regard to immigration, you can also tag us. All you have to do is write to us at Immy Talk Show. So we also have a few questions from our Facebook groups, right? Control, if you can also display them, please. But meanwhile, we can answer Prashanti, if you can tell us. We saw a small 2 week advancement on the EB3 India. Can we interpret this as a hopeful sign, or is it simply a technical adjustment without much of a practical benefit?
No, I mean, obviously there is still scope for, they think there's scope for it to move forward. The way the Department of State does this is they try to estimate, they do make an educated guess, is what I'm thinking of. What is the demand for EB3 and how much, um, how forward should they move the date so that all the numbers are used up? The ultimate goal is that all the visa numbers should be used up, right? So that's their goal. So they inch it forward based on what is the demand. They look at how many cases are pending, how many EB3 cases are pending, how many have been filed, etc. So um, yeah, so that's the basis for them to do that. It's based on something. It's not just a technical thing. It's based on an estimation of what is the demand for EB3, and we see the EB3 EB3 demand is slightly lower for India when compared to EB2. So I think there's still a little scope for forward movement since there is a difference in dates between EB3 and EB2. Uh, Previously, we saw that EB2 and EB3 dates were the same for India. Now there is forward movement because that's the reality, because the demand is not so much. So they're trying to push it forward a little bit so that it reflects, what the actual demand is.
All right. There you go. Thank you so much, Prashanti, for taking that up and for highlighting. Maybe yes, it's mostly on the demand. So Now we do have some questions from our Facebook groups. Let's address them also, Prashanti. Let's take up this first one. This is on the screen from Sheku. My friend details EB1B I-485 application date is 31st of January 2025. Fingerprints were on 26th of February 2025 and the priority date is May 2020. What is the likelihood of getting a green card by June 30th? Any information?
It's hard to predict um, how the dates will move, and sometimes it's hard to predict whether they'll move or not. Also, we've seen, EB1 has not moved at all for several months, and that's been the case with, a lot of the other categories as well.
Hmm.
So it's not like every month it moves a month. It doesn't work that way. For several months, it doesn't move at all. So difficult to predict whether it'll reach that date or not. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Prashanti. Let's go on to our next one. And this is from Shabib. What is current time for EAD if I-485 pending with USCIS?
EAD is taking about 6 to 8 months, but again, um, they are not uniform in their processing times. Sometimes I've seen EADs getting approved faster, and sometimes they take longer. But I always tell my clients an average of 6 to 8 months,
Okay.
which could be 2 months this way or 2 months that way. But I know it's a big, it's the gap is wide, but that's what it is.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prashanti, for taking that up for Shabib. And now we have from Ghadir. How to apply for EB2 NIW?
How to apply? You have to file an I-140. Um, you have to show that how you qualify for a national interest waiver. You have to show that your work or whatever you've done is in the interests of the nation to give you a green card. So you have to show that you have exceptional ability in the STEM field, or it could be arts, or it could be science, math, whichever field, in sports, so whichever field you excel in, you have to show that you have that exceptional ability, and this is documented through awards, through memberships in prestigious organizations, through your research, if that's the basis for your qualification, through your publications, through press. Uh, if you have press on your name, because if you have extraordinary ability, exceptional ability, I would think that people would know about it and they would write about it. So there's many ways of documenting this, but you provide all the documentation, maybe reviews from people that are top in your field, saying that your work is exceptional, um, and also you have to the basic document that you have to provide other than the I-140 application is a memo, a brief showing how you fit into those categories. So there's several categories, and under each category you have to give information as to how you fit into that category and provide documentation to supplement it.
Okay. Documentation has become definitely very, very important. So, friends, I hope you're keeping a check that they're all updated, by the way. So, God, now let's go on to our next one. We have up there this question. Hello, everyone. Has anyone on a non immigrant visa, F1 or J1, with a pending or approved I-140, recently traveled without facing any issue at the airport? I am talking about the current time.
Yeah, so that is always could be problematic, because if you are an F1 or a J1, there's no dual intent. So you're not allowed to file a green card and be on that status, because you have to show that you do not have the intent to immigrate. And that is true even if you're on a B1 or a B2. So when you travel back into the country, there is a possibility that you may not be able to come back. But having said that, I've also seen many, many instances where people on a B2 who have an I-130 approved or pending, which is the family-based immigration, right? Come in, no problem at all. Some come in even after they're asked the question as to why you're coming, they say, "Oh, we're coming to visit our spouse. We have an I-130 approved," and they don't seem to have an issue with it. So if they want to, they can use that as a reason not to allow you in. And that's always been the case. And I would presume now with extreme vetting, and if they want to decrease the number of, uh, uh, allow less people into the country, then that would definitely be a sufficient reason for them to stop you from entering into the country.
Thank you so much, Prashanthi, for taking that up. And now we have Sam's question. Hi everyone, my I-765 got denied over an error on my part, and my I-485 is still pending on RFE, which I responded to over 2 months ago. But the status hasn't changed, so I don't know if they even received my response. Anyone went through this before?
The status on the 485 really doesn't matter because they don't always update the status. So don't worry about it. If you submitted the RFE, and I'm hoping you submitted by some kind of courier service, or if you submitted it online and you've received confirmation that it's been received, then you should be okay. I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay. All the best, Sam. Thank you so much, Prashanthi, for taking that up. And with that, we have completed taking up our questions from our Facebook group. But that said, Prashanthi, I also have a couple more questions. Maybe we can address them before we leave. So, the options, what options do EB5 investors from oversubscribed countries they have, if they're caught in retrogression and if they want to switch to a reserved category like rural or any other, do you think it's a viable solution?
Well, they have to first of all then invest in that area. Um, so they'll have to move their investment from that category to the other
Okay.
category. Um, and in some instances, I mean, if you belong to China, the wait is so long that I don't know if AB5 even makes sense anymore because the processing time, first of all, for AB5 is about 3 years just to for the first step to be processed. Then you have to wait 2 years and remove conditions, and that is taking another, if they process it again in a year or two. So altogether, you just for processing and getting a green card, it's 5 years, right? And then if your visa number is not available, it means you can't file for adjustment. So you can't actually get the green card. You'll only be, in a pending status. So then you might as well file in the EB2, EB3 category or EB1 category, as a multinational executive. So and you don't have to pay, then invest, all that money in the US. So I think because of the delays in processing times and because of the oversubscribed, because of the priority dates not being available, it's becoming less and less of a sought after visa as it used to be, the EB5.
Mhm.
Um, because even if your visa number is available, you again switch to your category and you apply in a rural area, um, you still have a wait because of the processing time.
Yep.
So you have to weigh your options depending on which country you come from. Might make sense, might not make sense. So it's an individual's decision, and always, speak to an immigration attorney, and they can give you proper guidance on, what is the best option for you.
Right, right, friends. And if you're looking for one, why not check out Attorney Prashanthi Reddy also? You can call her up, and her number you can note down is 212-354-1010. And you can also email Attorney Prashanthi Reddy at prashanthi@reddyesq.com. Please check these spellings out. It's displayed on the screen below. And you can also go visit www.reddyesq.com. Yes, and friends, also don't forget to subscribe to our channel, especially folks out there who are resonating with our content, who are getting their answers, especially Neera, V2, Jadav, Ajuro, Hemant. Thank you once again for joining us with your questions. I hope that you know now what to do next, and even if not, friends, check us out. Check out our space because we have a lot of updates that you do not want to miss out on. So, yes, Prashanti, also, before we leave, if you could just tell us, with President Trump's administration renewing America First immigration approach, what impact are we seeing in legal immigration trends, especially for skilled workers and investors?
Yeah, so I think we discussed this a little bit, right? When
Yes,
I was talking about what to expect with reference to visa retrogression
yes.
and
I think
priority dates,
if
etc.
only we could reduce the
Um,
per country cap, also the percentage.
right. Right. So we were discussing that if because of the America First agenda, if that results in less people wanting to come to the US because it's just harder, it just makes it harder for both legal immigration, non-immigrant visas as well as immigrant visas, then you'll see that more visa numbers will become available for to people who are already in the country.
Mhm.
Uh, but to what extent that will happen, we have to wait and see. So that I would say is an impact that uh, Trump's America First policies could have on the priority dates, especially for people who are in the country. Um will it have any impact on priority dates with reference to new legislation? I don't see that happening right now. Nobody seems to want to do anything positive with reference to immigration right now. There seems to be a lot of negative thinking on immigration. So I don't know if that's going to change, but you never know because we never know really. So let me just say that and hope for the best
Yes,
that there'll be some legislation introduced which I mean, if the legislation is introduced that's pro immigration, pro legal immigration, I think it'll have a very good chance of passing
yes,
the House and the Senate because first thing is Republicans have both the House and Senate right now, and Democrats are willing to pass that kind of legislation as long as Republicans are. So it has a good chance of passing, but I don't know if there's any will to do that right now.
right. Right. Thank you so much. I think, Prashanti, with that, we have definitely covered quite a bit. And maybe if you have any end notes to wrap up our session for today, especially for folks out there who are watching us right now, it would be great.
So all I have to say is no matter what your priority date is,
Yeah.
what your status is, just be safe and make sure that you maintain your status at all given points of time. Uh, make sure you know what the laws are and make sure you follow them very carefully. Um, keep track of your status as to when it's expiring. Read up about immigration laws. Even simple things like traffic violations now can hurt your status. So just be vigilant and be safe, and also, make sure that you're aware of what the law is.
Yes, it's very important. Knowledge is power now, friends, and keep yourself updated. And I think you are on the perfect place right now. This is Immigration Talk Show, and our handle is at Immigration Talk Show. Subscribe to our channel, hit the bell icon, and keep watching our content because there are so many updates you don't want to miss out on, especially with new changes coming up and new updates every day. So we do have a lot to share with you. Check us out. And also, in case you want to have a one on one consultation with attorney Prashanthi Reddy, go call her up. Her number is 212-354-1010. And you can also email Prashanthi at prashanthi@reddyesq.com. And go visit www.reddyesq.com to get to know more about attorney Prashanthi Reddy and the law offices of Prashanthi Reddy. That's it, friends. Thank you so much for joining us. In case you have any questions that you want to direct to me, and maybe I can forward to the attorney, Just email me at neepadstaffingme.com, or you can call me also, WhatsApp me on this number. This is my number, 408 335 6444. Once again, I repeat, 408 335 6444. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I hope you had a good time. And once again, do not forget to subscribe to our channel in case you've forgotten or you haven't as yet. Do that and share this content with all your friends and family who could benefit a lot more from just being there on your phone. So, thank you so much. And Prashanthi, thank you for joining us today. It was a real pleasure and an honor having you back again. So, hoping to see you soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Nipasa.
Thank you. Have a good day. And everyone out there, y'all also have a good day. Thank you for joining us once again. And yes, this is Nipasa saying bye for now. But stay tuned because we have daily immigration dose, which I'm going to come back again with my co host Sam. So join us there and let's discuss a few things together. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.